Welcome, WrestleBuddies, to the WrestleBuddy podcast. I am joined today by my brother Jimmy. How are we doing, Jimmy?
Fantastic, as always. How about yourself, sir?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It's not a great week in wrestling, but not too bad, eh?
Yeah, I didn't catch as much as I usually do, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking, I don't think.
Yeah, and if his internet lets him, we're joined by Zane. How are we doing, Zane? Oh, he's already frozen.
I'm good. Jimmy's awesome.
No. Right, Jim, we'll get straight into it then, mate, seeing that Zane doesn't want to join us. I heard him when I was trying to sort out my camera and that, he was talking away fine, and then the minute I come on, his internet kind of freezes. He must be kind of, I think his internet's allergic to me or something like that.
Yeah, that's the excuse he has.
So yeah, there's not a lot to go through this week, Jim, in terms of what actually happened, but there is some good talking points still, isn't there? So let's have a look at the first one, which was quite come from left field, should we say, was WWE denying Ali's release request. Now, Ali did request his release earlier on this week. From what I gathered, it was down to a disagreement with Vince McMahon. And then WWE apparently rejected that release, deciding not to go down the same route as what they did with Tony Storm. Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, Jim?
I'm kind of torn on it because I know there was he had an idea a few weeks ago where it got turned down because it was too controversial, apparently. And then now you have this where apparently they had a disagreement and he's asking for his release. I think Ali has something to contribute to the roster, to the show. I think the mid card is very, very thin, and to not do anything you can to make someone like Ali happy and keep him on your show is kind of crazy to me. Which is probably why they're not granting the release. I get that part, but if they're not going to grant him the release, they better do something to utilize him and make him happy, because if not, then there's really no point in keeping him.
But do you think he's, hi Corey, how you doing? Nice to see you again. Is he a star that you want to keep though? Has he done that much? Has he actually done anything? I know on the main roster.
I don't think he's done anything, but I also don't think he's been given a real opportunity to do anything. The one time he had that opportunity, he got injured, and Kofi took it and ran with it, and we know what happened there. Since then, what have they really done with Ali? They put him in Retribution, which everyone thought was a complete mess, and they booked it terribly. It could have been something that could have worked, and with someone like Ali, he's a very creative person. He can talk. He can wrestle. That's something that could have worked and should have worked. It didn't, because they didn't. I don't feel like they really ever put much effort into it. I think he can contribute to the mid card, and I think you and me are in agreement there that the mid card in WWE has been atrocious for a good minute. There's only a few that stand out, and someone like Ali, and then again someone like Ricochet was a name that gets tied to Ali a lot, and it was brought up during his release stuff. Two guys like that, they could really reinvigorize the Intercontinental Championship scene. So that's why I keep him. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. It's just, WWE don't seem to like these smaller guys, do they? And, he is a smaller guy, whether we like it or we don't, he is. So, maybe they just don't want to kind of, they don't see them pushing him, or maybe they've kind of tried to do something along the lines of, a Middle Eastern character that Ali probably didn't want to do, or something like that.
Refused to do something like that.
And the thing with Ali is, I'm not saying this is the case, but we know what Lio Rush was potentially like backstage. Could it be the same thing with this, or do you feel like he's trying to fight us?
I think he has he's very strong with his convictions. He has an idea, he has beliefs that he's going to stand up for, and he's not afraid to put his foot down and say, that's not going to work for me, this is what I envision. And I don't think he's done anything, or we've really heard anything that makes you think he's a kind of person that's gonna push back in the wrong way. I think fighting certain things is a good trait to have. It shows you have passion. It means you really want to give the fans something that they can get invested in. So I don't want to say anything, compare him to Lio Rush based on what we know about Lio Rush and what we don't really know about Ali. But back to the small thing, I think he's one of the guys that can make the small guy work. Though I don't think he's someone you could put in a match with Roman Reigns and it doesn't work. I think he could work with Roman Reigns, and I think it could be believable. He's not going to beat Roman, absolutely not.
No.
But he doesn't have to. He could just be in the mid card. Shinsuke, Sammy, again Ricochet, Ali. Like those are guys you could build a division around, and it just blows my mind that they haven't. And it would surprise me if they didn't at least try at this point, since they're not going to let him walk.
Well, that was my next question. What do you feel like they're going to do with him now that they've not released him?
I know Sasha Banks a few years ago threatened to, she wanted to leave. She asked for a release, and they didn't grant it to her. And then we all saw what happened with her. They gave her the opportunity, and she ran with it. Hopefully, the same thing happens here with Ali. I like him. I think he's a good wrestler, and I think he has what it takes to entertain. I don't see why he's not on TV every week. He has qualities that other wrestlers don't, and I would like to see him get the opportunity to really show them and do it on a stage that's not where he's just being used to get someone else a victory.
Yeah, I get you. All right, Harold, how we doing, buddy? How we doing? What's your thoughts, Courtney and Harold? What are we thinking on this Ali situation? Would you like to see him, do something else? Do you feel like WWE, Jim, just on a side, just to continue this on for a second, with the way that they, obviously it looks like there's been a pitch that's gone wrong here and he's requested his release and sort of like that. Do you feel like WWE rejected this release because of the fact that, maybe they've got a bit too far with a pitch, or something they think maybe will come back to bite them if they don't sort it out, and we could see Ali get something off the back of it because of that?
I think it boils down to I don't think they want to basically open the door for a bigger situation. I touched on this, and there was a few people that thought I was crazy for it, but if you grant Ali his release, you're basically letting other talents that are in his position know, hey, ask for your release, and we're probably going to grant it to you.
Yeah.
They did it with Tony. If they did it with Ali, my example was Ricochet. Why wouldn't Ricochet look at that and be like, you know what? Why don't I do that as well? Because honestly, they're not I don't think anyone believes he's being utilized in a way that really highlights what he's good at. And if then it's Ricochet, who's next? The dominoes begin to fall. And since they've released so many, that roster is in danger of just being incredibly small. And then what do? You end the brand split? I don't think that's in their best interest. So I think that played into why they have no interest in granting him his release.
Okie doke. So, Courtney says if they let Ali go, I want to see him on either Impact or AEW. I feel like AEW might be a good place for him, more than Impact. I don't,
Well, I saw someone mention him in the X division, or go together like that. I think he'd be a good fit there.
Okay. Well, talking about Lio Rush. Lio Rush is leaving AEW, so he announced on his Twitter that his contract runs out in February and he's taking bookings. Obviously, looks like AEW don't have any non-competes at present. What's your thoughts on Lio? I know he's only been there 4 months, so it was only a short-term contract anyway, but I feel like Tony Khan's probably dodged the bullet by doing that.
I'm interested to know if it was a short contract or if they're playing a game here so it's not getting out that they actually come to an agreement to release him. The whole story, not the storyline, but the how everything lines up in this whole story just kind of points to he's secretly getting released. I mean, he calls out Tony Khan for his insensitive remarks on Twitter, and he was not shy about it. He was on 3 or 4. He's like, "Yo, this is not cool." The next day, he releases a PR statement. He clearly did not write. If he did, I apologize. But reading it, and it didn't sound like it was something that Lio Rush was trying to say. It sounded like it was written for him, and he posted it. After that, he's in the middle of a thing with Dante Martin. He's pulled from it. He was eventually replaced, I think, 2 weeks ago with Jay Lethal, and now they've both been replaced by Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty. And now he's talking about my contract's up in February. I'm taking bookings. The whole.
Sorry, Jim. I'm just having an issue with.
You good?
Some audio yet. Do apologise.
You good? So with how all that played out, I don't see that being how it was.
Right. And do you think like that he is a bit of a troublemaker? Because I mean, all I've seen there is with the kinds of thing that he's had with Tony Khan, the back and forth he had with him on Twitter, and that, I don't really think he's in the wrong for that.
No, absolutely not. That's why I don't want to say he's a troublemaker.
Yeah.
But apparently there's stories of him being difficult other places. So
no, absolutely not. That's why I don't want to say.
Yeah. No, I just look at it and I think to myself, like, you know, maybe it's best for him to go to the Indies. I know he's got his rap stuff and all that on the go as well, so maybe he wants to spend a bit more time on that. But, you know, when you say he wants to spend a bit more time on that, it wasn't like he was having a demanding schedule with AEW, because I don't think any wrestler at the present has a demanding AEW schedule, do they?
Well, like I said, he had a thing going and then they just pulled the rug out from under him. And it was like, was that the plan all along? Was that a punishment for speaking out? Like, what was it? I don't know. It seemed like they were going to start utilizing him in a way where we were going to see him every week. Dante Martin's a guy you see on TV every week for AEW. Lio Rush was paired with him, so I have no reason to believe he wasn't going to be involved in plans. And it sucks because I think he brings an energy to AEW that they don't really have. I was very invested with him on the show. Like, I was excited to see him. The matches he was having were fantastic. Because he's a talent. He's just super fun to watch. And it just sucks that all this happened, and it seems to be because he's a person that stood up for his beliefs, or he stood his ground. Oh, he didn't really stand his ground, but I would hate to think that this is happening because of that. But based on the story of it, that's what it seems to be to me.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on then to another one. Another AEW, you know, we've got a few of them this week with the contracts coming up. Joey Janela leaving AEW, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's a problem. I'm not going to say I'm a Joey Janela fan. I don't hate him either. My favorite part about him is Jim Cornette's nickname for him. But they weren't using him. The most interesting thing he did, they kept on Dark. I think that was a little weird not to have him and Sonny Kiss's little feud, at least on a bigger scale, because it was the most entertaining thing Joey Janela did with them. But he'll be better off going wherever he's going to go. They're not going to miss him, and I don't think he's going to miss them.
No. I think, did you ever see him landing in WWE?
No. Not at all.
Not at all? No, not even NXT?
Nope. Joey's how old is he? He's got to be at least 30s.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, someone that, you know, could be going to WWE or certainly will be a fit for WWE is a Mr. Brian Cage, and his contract's up soon.
I can't wait. I think.
So sorry, Jimmy. Just Courtney does say Ali for the X division. Yes. Rev Cupid says they could build something around Ali at Impact. I think it could work. Yeah, definitely good points, guys. Definitely. Sorry, Jim.
Oh, you good? I think Brian Cage is in a very. It sounds crazy to say this, but I think he's in a very good position right now. He's obviously disgruntled with AEW. There's not going to be renewal there. And WWE is looking to get their hands on their first AEW guy. Even though Brian Cage isn't technically an AEW guy, he was there. He was a big part of the programming at one point. And Vince has got to be just looking at this man and be like, I am going to show the world what AEW missed out on and push him to the moon.
Fit, mold.
Yes.
Mold, fit. Obviously.
Brian Cage versus Bobby Lashley, Vince McMahon is looking at that going, money.
He's looking at Brian Cage and going, I can throw a belt on you and you will look exactly what I want in my company.
Yeah. Brian Cage, Brock Lesnar, that's money. You have two guys that look like that going head to head. That's money to Vince McMahon. And again, just the whole idea that he can take an AEW guy and make him a star has got to be in the back of his mind.
100%. And also you've got I know everybody, every time you see some kinds of either WWE release or someone who's not getting utilised on TV, all you get is get them to AEW, they'll sort them out. It's like, well, no, because that's not the case anyway. And two, it's kind of, okay, well, are they utilising Brian Cage to the best possible way? I don't think they are. So, get him to WWE, they'll know what to do with him because he fits in with their mould if we want to go down that route. So these are probably rumours, but Marco Stunt, Joey Janela and Brian Cage.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we've all heard, Courtney. I think Marco Stunt's a bit different though because he is injured as well. So I don't see them going back to renew his contract, especially with the way they're positioning Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Now they don't even refer to them as Jungle Express really anymore, do they?
Yeah. Sorry. The thing with AEW and Brian Cage that blows my mind is I feel like where they went wrong is when they did the split where they wanted to take Brian Cage away from Team Taz. They tried to make Brian Cage the babyface and Ricky Starks the heel. And if you look at these guys, you're like, why is Brian Cage the babyface and why is Ricky Starks the heel? Like, it didn't make any sense to me.
No.
This was the chance for them to make Brian Cage a big monster because he's a big guy, and it would be nice to see someone of his size and power just rip through people like he can. And Ricky Starks would have, I think, been 100 times better off playing a babyface. He has that. I've seen the comparison before. Rock. He looks like The Rock. He has that appeal to him, and I don't get why they did what they did, but they did it. We're here now, and now Brian Cage is probably off to, in this case, greener pastures because WWE will utilize the shit out of that man.
Yeah, and do you know what I was thinking the other day? I mean, this is no disrespect at all to Lance Archer. I really like Lance Archer, but do you think if Brian Cage signs his contract, or when they know he's going to be going out the door, or what we think he's potentially going to be going out the door, but if, say for instance, Tony Khan looks at it and thinks, okay, he's going out the door here, I'm going to plug in Lance Archer there instead of Brian Cage?
It's possible. It's possible. I know I've heard that Lance Archer's contract's coming up too very soon. So this might be one of those WWE ploys where it's like, hey, don't leave. Let's give you something really cool so you'll resign. Because I'm a big fan of Lance Archer. I love the man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As I say, that was no slight on him as a performer or anything like that. It's just, he did that big. Because the one thing that we all, pretty much agreed on, and know me and Dale had a good chat about this, and it's kind of like, okay, we had Hangman versus Bryan Danielson. He won that feud, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but to cement him as a baby face, he needs a real monster heel to go as his next challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he fits in well there.
I think if Brian Cage and AEW weren't, I guess, disgruntled with one another, it's very possible he could have been in this position.
Yeah. And we all know Mrs. Cage wasn't happy as well, was she?
Yeah. Because I think last year Brian Cage even has a victory over Hangman during their short feud. So it'd have been a great way to utilize him, but that's it. They're not doing it, but.
So Courtney says, I agree with Jimmy. Not the first one to, Courtney. We all do. Well, everybody who's got a brain. I can't believe WWE wants MJF, and also Lance Archer won't go back to WWE. No, he won't. I don't see him going back there at all. I think Brian Cage is probably the one that, you know, as I say, when you look at some of these performers, it's not the fact of somebody isn't a good performer or they're not right for what sometimes it might just not be the right fit, as we say. You know, like Brian Cage might not fit into AEW, because if you look over there, you know, they're going down the route of Tokyo Dome 5-star matches, you know, everything's got to be match based and all this, and you know, they haven't really got a lot of big guys that are getting over at the moment, which is fine. That's absolutely fine, and if they're going to do that, then, you know, do it, because you're giving us something different to the product that we're getting on the other side. You know, WWE, Brian Cage is that big guy, and he would fit in really well over on their side. He might have an issue with the wellness policy, but it's you know, he's a big guy who could fit in over there. What's your thoughts on that kind of dynamics, Jim, about the, you know, fitting in and where you fit in?
I think that's, you hit it right on the head, and that's kind of why WWE decided to go the route of getting rid of the midgets and focusing on the bigger people to differentiate them from AEW. AEW is, they're doing a great job of taking the small indie-sized wrestlers and utilizing them in a way that's entertaining. I'm not gonna knock them for it. It's entertaining.
No.
It's what NXT was. I think NXT did it a tad bit better, but that's personal opinion. But I think they do a really good job of taking those smaller guys and putting on a fantastic show. The problem with that is you have people like Lance Archer who just seem out of place. Brian Cage, out of place. So where do those kind of guys fit? The WWE, and that's why they're going that way now. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's
it's a shame though Lance Archer won't go to WWE, because again, I like him, but I don't think he would be utilized over there either. So,
you know, it could be who goes what. Do you know what I mean? They're all going to find the place, aren't they, eventually? But as we say, the good thing about it at the moment is it's not kind of the same. You know, everyone goes on about the WWE, WCW, but you know, as you quite right, there's a lot of different options now. But not only is there different options, but it's not about watching one over the other, because I turn into WWE because I like the whole entertainment aspect of it. I do. I like the whole production, you know, everything else. The storylines might not be the greatest, but there's still some storylines there. AEW, I'll be very critical of, in the sense of I don't feel like they get the storylines right. Maybe the Hangman Page one was great, but overall some of the storylines are a bit of a hot shot. But the whole wrestling over there, I really like me wrestling matches that they put on over there. So I'll tune in to watch a good wrestling match from the AEW. If you want my opinion on who does the best stories at the moment, Impact Wrestling. I feel like they kind of...
I don't really know. I won't speak on it. I hear a lot of good things about Impact though, so I'm not...
Yeah, well, Alex was telling me a bit about it, so I've caught up on, you know, I don't watch Impact religiously, because obviously there's so much wrestling you can't really think. But I did spend a bit of time and kind of looked into it and watched a few bits and bobs, and I was kind of looking. I was like, do you know what? Some of this is really good, like stories. You know what I mean? Really good feuds, the way they're building and stuff like that. So, and better than what I've seen on WWE in the past couple of years. So, you know, as I say, I think WWE production and kind of entertainment value, AEW for the wrestling. Story modes, telling a story, I'd say Impact. So they're all bringing something different to the table at the moment. They're all bringing something totally different to each other, which is good for all of us, because we're not, you know, back in the day, sometimes you'd watch Raw, you'd turn over to Nitro, or, you know, you'd watch Nitro after whatever, and, you know, be the same kinds of formulas, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're basically watching two of the same shows, just different people, just a few different aspects involved. But I like that WWE basically saw what AEW was doing and said, we have to do something different, because maybe they were losing viewers. I'm not one to look at the ratings and be like, they're crashing and burning, because that's not the case. No. They're bringing in money, they're streaming services, all that other stuff. But maybe in the midst of all that, they were starting to lose some viewers, and they said, we need to shift focus a little bit and go back to what NXT was and was successful for us. And that was when they were focusing on taking these young enhancement talents and turning them into their product, not trying to mold an indie guy into theirs and do hybrids, because it wasn't working. Stars are getting over.
No.
And
also, just a quick one here, is the fact of the matter is, as we've said before, AEW is a development territory, so, you know, at some point you've got to ask yourself, are you going to have it as a fair brand, or is it going to go back to what it was meant to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
And people are turning around at the moment and saying, oh, it's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same at the moment, but at the same time they went, you know, I know Ciampa and was it Strong?
Dunn, and then Strong and LA Knight were on Smackdown.
Yes. So, you know, they're saying, oh, well, that's the end of the black and gold brand, which is sad enough, but at the same time, you know, they're going, oh, they're only going to be left with the new ones. Well, at one time, you know, Seth Rollins, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, all these people were your new ones. So, you know.
And I'll say this, as one of the biggest black and gold fans there was, and as disappointed as I am that they completely changed everything, my whole theory when I was watching NXT back then was, I don't want these guys leaving NXT because they're not going to do what they're doing now. I'm not going to see Adam Cole being Adam Cole or Johnny Gargano doing what he does on Raw or SmackDown. Wasn't going to happen. No. So for the first time in a long time, I'm looking at these guys in NXT and I'm like, I cannot wait to see these guys on the main roster. That's the biggest difference, and that's how WWE is going to survive and stay on top, is by putting all their eggs into this developmental brand that they have again, and focusing on the future.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, if you can get people to buy into them on the 2.0, and it's kind of like, oh, can't wait to see them, and then they appear on the main brand, and it's, you know, there's a lot of like that, isn't there? You know, you get invested in them and stuff like that. But Courtney did say here that apparently at the moment, you know, which is, she's right what she's saying, speaking of NXT, they're going under a reconstruction, I guess. Well, the art of 2.0, but also there was, you know, I don't know whether you've seen, there was an article just on a Wrestle Talk today that I was watching, where they were saying about apparently they're not happy with 2.0 and the way that it's performing.
I don't believe it.
You know.
If they weren't happy with it, Grayson Waller would not be feuding with AJ Styles on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
No.
And the thing is, as well, is they probably, you know, do a bit of a crossovers like that. They need to do more crossovers like that, because you will take the fans over there with you. And, you know, at the end of the day, let's not forget, it's not about ratings with NXT.
No.
It's not. It's about, you know, it's it's about getting them the exposure, and, you know, because at the end of the day, they can go in the performance centre all they want, but they need to be in front of a crowd. They need to be that live television doing what they, you know.
I'll say this: if the contract for NXT comes up for USA Network, and USA Network decides they don't want to bring it back, they don't want to re-sign it, that's not gonna break Vince McMahon's heart at all. They'll just put it back on the network, and it will continue to do what it's supposed to do, and that's build stars for the future. Yeah. It's just extra money at this point for Vince to have it on USA Network.
Yeah. I mean, if you know, you look back to when Bron Breakker won the title off Ciampa, and there was a bit in the match where he goes for the pin and he hooks the wrong leg, and Ciampa was meant to get his leg on the other rope, and he, you know, scrambles across, and in the end they corrected it. But with that being live TV, it's like, you know, these guys need to learn this under that pressure, because it's not going to be a matter of stop, let's redo it and stuff like that. They need this, you know. And Bron Breakker, I'll admit, you know, over the last 6 months, he has improved so much. He really has, and he's only getting better, which is, you know, good. Still think he needs to be a Steiner. I think he needs to acknowledge that fact. I think that'd shoot him a lot further.
I think with another thing with these guys is, as good as a wrestler as they might be at the Performance Center, with the coaches and all that, there's dynamics on television that you can't learn in the Performance Center. You have to be in front of a live camera to know how to play with the camera. I'll point to Britt Baker. She's she learned this so fast, and she's so good at it. And I think it's what really makes her the star she is. It's nothing. She doesn't do anything special. But she knows how to work that camera. She knows where it's at. She knows to play to it, and it works. It makes you look at her and be like, okay, you have my attention. And if they're not in front of a live camera, they're never going to learn these things, and then they'll be behind once they get onto the main roster. Whereas Braun Breaker right now, I think we all can say he could show up on the main roster tomorrow, and it would be okay. He'd have to learn some things. It would be okay. But being on live TV has kind of set him up for that. Whereas if he was never on live TV before at all, and he goes and does that, he's gonna probably get lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you totally. But anyway, on to our last thing that we're going to talk about today, Jim. The return of Mr. Moxley. Now, John Moxley obviously went to a facility due to some addiction issues. Looks like he's come out sorted. He looks really well, which is, always nice to see. And he appears on Dynamite this week. Now, just before we get to that, there's something. Yeah, sorry. Yes, Braun Breaker. I see him maybe going to Raw. Yeah, he could fit in on Raw. Courtney, he really could, because we need, they need some more stars, don't they, over there? Obviously, so we could.
I think SmackDown needs them more. SmackDown has nothing.
The only thing you've got with Braun is what you do feed into Roman, which is not going to do him no favours, is it? So
I think you build him up for Roman. I think there's enough there to build him up for Roman. But on Raw, I think he'd get lost on Raw because there's much more talent and bigger names on Raw than there is SmackDown. You remove Roman from SmackDown, who are your stars?
Yeah,
Sami Zayn, Sasha, Charlotte. That's
Shinsuke. Boogs.
And we all know Shinsuke is not a star at this point, so
no, he's a dancer.
So yeah,
okay.
I would prefer Braun on SmackDown.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
No problem. So yeah, John Moxley looked really, really well. Now I've got a gripe with this straight away. Either Tony Khan is stupid, or John Moxley is disrespectful. One of the two. He turned around and obviously he come back. He made his return on Dynamite. He wrestled on Rampage, which is all great. But GCW last week announced John Moxley for one of their shows in February, which was the first publicity or the first time that we'd heard of John Moxley since he'd gone to rehab. Now, I'm sure Tony Khan was paying him his check while he was in rehab and stuff like that. So I don't know whether he's asked Tony Khan's permission, which I just don't get why you do that, or he's just gone out on his own free will and done it. But what's your thoughts on that? Because it really annoyed me.
I called this last week when we talked about John Moxley on that GCW show. I said, there's no way Tony does not fast track that man on his show. There's no way it happens. And that's what happened. I didn't watch the match on Rampage because I hardly ever watch Rampage. I think it's weird to have his first match on Rampage. That kind of seems a little off. I liked his little promo speech, whatever you want to call it. It was real, so I don't know. I don't really consider it a promo. He looked fantastic. He looked the best he's looked probably since his debut in AEW. Yeah. And I've always said I think John Moxley is the most important person on that roster. I think he brings in credibility. I think his name isn't valued enough by the fans. I think he's a much bigger name than people give him credit for. And I don't think anyone... Eddie Kingston maybe has that kind of fiery passion that John Moxley has, but there's not many that have it. And you saw it on Wednesday night. It was incredible. And I can't say anything more. I like seeing him back. I'm glad he's back, and I'm looking forward. I think AEW couldn't have got him back at a better time. That was the best show they've had in a few weeks, and him being there, I think, brings an energy, and they'll be able to kind of ride that momentum going into Revolution.
Hi, Ashton. It's my son. He's in here. How you doing, buddy? One thing I will say, I have seen Rampage, and it was good, Carney. You're pretty right. It was good. The one thing that I did want to mention is the Mox did kill it. He's done well on there, but also the commentators on there were really good yesterday. So they were tonight. They were acknowledging the fact that he'd lost weight, and they were saying, does he have to change his style from a boring style to more of a hit and move guy and stuff, which I just thought was really, really good. I thought like the way that he kind of talked about his issues, but spun it into kind of how is he going to react to this weight loss and his body change and whatnot. Thought that was really, really good. So that's a good part of Rampage. The only gripe I've got, and it's just AEW. It's typical AEW, and WWE are thingy for this as well. They had Jade Cargill make her first defense of the TBS title on Rampage on TNT.
It doesn't make sense. And and this is not a knock on Serena Deeb and I think it's Sky Blue. Because I love Serena Deeb. She's my favorite woman on AEW. But they had that on TNT, and that's very easily a Rampage match, as opposed to not having your TBS champion on TBS.
Yeah. The
girl that you're trying to strap a rocket to and push to the moon, you're not putting on your big flagship show. It's insane.
Yeah. It really is.
It's not something I thought about until you just talked about, but now I'm like, why would you not do that? Like, that's crazy. If you want her to be Goldberg, you better treat her like Goldberg and not whatever it is they're doing with her.
Yeah. Well, Alex has just put a bit of thing. Peter Avalon is leaving AEW as well, so we're starting to see a lot of AEWs pop out now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think he's already gone. I think I saw him taking bookings already. So.
Well, at the end of the day, they've been snatching a lot of talent up over the last 18 months, so eventually WWE have had to do it, and it's not that they have to do it, but if you've got a business and you've got a model, you've got to do something like that, haven't you?
Yeah. Tyler Breeze said it best, and I'm not going to say word for word, I don't remember what it was word for word, but it basically boiled down to why wouldn't they sign up as many as they could? You're going to sign up everything you can, you're going to see what hits, you're going to see what misses. What hits you keep, what misses you get rid of. That's how a business works. And AEW is doing it in a different approach. They're just letting the contracts play out. And if that's the way they want to do it, that's fine. I have no knock on them for basically letting contracts and then just not re-signing people. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I also believe there's nothing wrong with releasing people if you're not utilizing them and they're just sitting there collecting money for no reason. I think that's how business works. You cut the weight. That's you don't just keep paying people for no reason.
No. At the end of the day, it's like if you're a shop, say a shop for instance, yeah. If you've got a load of, I don't know, let's not use brands, salt and vinegar crisp, and you've got a load of tomato ketchup flavoured crisp, you sell all your tomato ketchup, but your salt and vinegar just stay on that shelf all the time. Nobody buys it. In the end, you're just going to get rid of it and just fill up the rest of the shelf with tomato so you sell more. And, so at the end of the day, if you've got talent that's not working or not kind of getting to where you want them to be or find their place on your product, what's the point in keeping hold of them and just paying them wages? At the end of the day, Jim, if you had to build it in your house and you'd used this builder twice and twice you hadn't done the work correctly the way that you wanted it, you're not going to go back and get him again. You're going to go and find somebody that's going to come in and do what you want them to do. So at the end of the day, it's like if you've got a wrestler and and I'm not saying the wrestlers won't do what they want them to do. What I mean by that is they're just not connecting with the audience or getting to the level that you want them to. Business is business. And I don't think Tony Khan, as much at the moment, he's trying to make it out like he's this nice guy and all the rest of it, which, it's a business model that he's got, but at the same time, I'm sure he'll have advisors in the background saying to him, Tony, it can't be sustainable. And obviously now we're starting to see the first rounds of AEW contracts come up for renewal, and he's not renewing them, which is fine, absolutely fine. But let's not forget, WWE might renew contracts and then release them a couple of months down the line. But 9 times out of 10, they don't just let contracts roll off. I know they have with a few, but they renew and they'll try with them again or whatever they'll do.
Yeah.
So each one's got a different way of working. Doesn't mean anyone's wrong, no.
There's no blueprint. Like what's working, you go with. You go with the success. You don't go with what is morally right. And I brought this up during the Ring of Honor thing. Is Ring of Honor in the position they're in now if they wouldn't have continued to pay those guys during the pandemic? Yeah. How much money did they lose doing that? And I know it's a great gesture they did. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it, but from a business standpoint, you got to question it. Like, that's a lot of money that they just gave away, and then now look at them. So,
okay. Well, this week I want to end on a bit of a rant of the week, Jim, which is just a few little bits. Got to do this every week now because it's just some stupid bits in wrestling. So, number one, as we've said, Jade Cargill defending the TBS Championship on TNT. AEW, sort your shit out. Number two, on Smackdown last night, they panned a camera to Summer Rae and they said, WWE legend Summer Rae. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yeah, sort your shit out, WWE. Right. Number three, fuck off with your championship contender matches. I've had enough of them.
Last night?
Naomi versus Charlotte.
Okay.
With a special guest referee of
Sonya.
Yeah, Sonya, which, even though this has been going on for how many months, we still don't know what the problem is with her. Number four, Alaia versus Natalya. Natalya stamping shit all over people when, gets disqualified. Considering you're such a veteran. Yeah, alright, love, well in. Number six, what are we going to go for number six? Number six, I'm going to do seven rants each week. I should stop the bad language. Piss off, Dad. Okay, so number six, we're going to go with the fucked up arcade, bro. I like the fact that they've done, the Alpha Academy is good and whatnot, but at the same time, you've probably ruined the best thing that you had on a show.
But haven't we always known that this is where it was going?
It was, but does it need to go this way, or do we, should we have got them split up?
I mean, technically they're still together, so I mean, we don't know how it's ending, so I'm defending that one just a little bit, because like I said, we've all known it's going towards the end. We all know that. But it's not over yet. We're still going to get a few more segments out of it. Yeah,
and the last one is a rant on behalf of Big E. Poor Big E. Fucking King Xavier gets injured. I know. Let's pick up Big E and drop him back with the New Day because we can't have just one New Day member on their own. We've got to have a New Day because of merch sales. Poor Big E.
We'll see. If he wins the Royal Rumble, are you poor Big E now?
Not gonna. Okay. He's not going to win.
You don't think he's going to win? You think he has zero chance?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's like the front runner.
Yeah, no. He's not going to win the Rumble.
If
he was going to win the Rumble, why would they take the belts off him? They just keep the belts on him.
They didn't know what they were doing at the time. They had to hot shot something.
They don't. They still don't know what they're doing with him. I don't think he had to go. I don't think Big E looks good with the belt either. I'll be totally honest. I don't think he had to go run.
I do think they didn't do him any favors with the booking, but I don't think that was anything on Big E. I don't.
No, it's not on Big E as himself, but. And I don't, it's no disrespect to him as a person or anything like that, or the way he performs, but he's a character performer. He's not a champion. He's not a champion, and unfortunately, it's just like, it's nothing against him or anything like that. But if you look at some of the talent that are there, they're really good talents, but it doesn't mean you should give them the belt just because they've been there for a long time and they do you know what I mean? Like Kofi, the story was well and stuff like that, but then when he got the belt, it was like, nah, do you know what I mean?
See, I disagree with that one too. I like Kofi as champion. I thought of all the champions, like the last 10 champions, if I was thinking of, he was the one that came across to me as a guy who was just like, the story was he was lucky, he should have been champion, and he was out to prove it every single week, and I like that. Like he literally came out the next night and was like, I want your belt too.
You've got Big E just turning up in the background as an afterthought in a segment going, it's like, no, do you know what I mean? No, you're not. And it's, as I say, I'm not even going to turn around and blame WWE for booking him, because unless you give him a whole character overhaul, maybe get him to turn on the New Day and whatnot, he's never going to be a good champion. He's not. He's just not.
A main event champion or just champion in general?
Main event.
Okay. So you didn't mind his Intercontinental title run?
No. That's where he is. He's a mid-carder. He's a really good mid-carder.
I'll accept that one.
You know, I like Damian Priest as the United States champion. Do I see him going to the top? No, I don't.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So, you know, and that's the thing is, but let's look back through history. Mr. Perfect probably should have been a champion, but he was great Intercontinental champion, brilliant, and he's a legend for that, for being great Intercontinental champion and whatnot. No, let's have a look. You know, we go back through history. There's Davey Boy Smith, British Bulldog. The best title he ever won was a Intercontinental champion. Great mid-carder throughout his whole career. Roddy Piper might have been in the main event somewhere along that. Potentially could be a champion, but again,
I don't think he was a world champion material. That's just me. I don't think he was.
No, I potentially agree with you. I do agree with you on that one.
As much as I love Piper, I think he was great in the main event with what he did. He was never a guy you could put the world title on.
Yeah. You know, Cozy Rhodes, when he was in WWE, I couldn't have seen him as a champion.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And as horrible as it sounds, no, I couldn't have, you know. And that's the thing is, there's a lot of these people that... it seems to be everybody's so focused on that main event scene now and being a champion that, you know, as we've said before, Jim, we've lost the fact that you can have solid mid-carders that could be... You know, I talked to Al Snow the other night on WrestleBuddy.com. Go check it out on our YouTube channel or our Facebook. But, you know, I talked to Al Snow, and Al Snow was there for over 10 years. And, in my opinion, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he was a mid-carder, solid, and he'd done his role at what he was meant to do. Do you know what I mean? The likes of the Godfather, he's a Hall of Famer, you know, great Intercontinental champion, great mid-carder, exactly where he should have been. Farouk, never, you know, there's a lot of these people that were, you know, D'Lo Brown, absolute legends in my opinion. Should he have ever been a champion? No. But he was a great European champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing, like, I just feel like in this kind of 2022 or 2021, 2022, people have forgot how good a mid-card that can be.
It kind of goes back to a thing I was saying on the other day about fans are just entitled. They latch on to their favorite and they think their favorite should be this, and if they're not, they throw a fit. And then all the people who share that same favorite wrestler jump in, and then it becomes this shitstorm of Johnny Gargano should be WWE champion. Sorry. As good as Johnny Gargano is, he's not that guy. No. But that doesn't mean he can't be great in another spot on the card.
Yeah. And I mean, what do you know what I'd like to see them do one time, yeah? Especially, do you know, on these B pay-per-views, so you like see your fast lanes or your, you know, is have a Intercontinental title or US title headliner.
It would trick some of these idiots into realizing that those are just as important.
But they are, but WWE have not made them important for a long time. You know, let's not forget when 1992, Wembley Stadium, I know it was the British Bulldog, but the headline of that was the British Bulldog versus Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. You know, and the way they built that match up, and it was this prestigious, you know, it seems to have lost its way, the Intercontinental Championship, as is the US, hasn't it?
I feel like certain people are able to do something with it and certain people aren't. I think, obviously, The Miz has been fantastic every time he's Intercontinental Champion. I think Sami Zayn did a great job with it. I think Big E his reign was cut short before he was able to do something really good with it, but I liked what he was doing prior to losing it. And I've seen quite a few people make this remark about Damian Priest as United States champion, and I don't see it. I think he's been a good United States champion. I can't think of anyone who's been presented as that champion in a long time that's been booked or looked as good as Damian Priest.
The thing is, though, what great feuds has he been in?
What's that?
What great feuds has he been in?
None of them have been long, but if you look at this, how many times do we get a good feud and then after a month people start bitching that it's going on too long?
Yeah, I get it.
There's no you can't win. There's literally no way they can win here. I did like his work with Sheamus. It was nothing special, but I did like it. And as crazy as it sounds, I liked the Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, Damian Priest thing. They told a very quick story in those 3 weeks. He beat Bob, or 4 weeks. He beat Bobby. Ziggler stepped in. He got counted out with Ziggler. Then he got disqualified with Ziggler because of his character development that he's going through. So they made the final match, hey, you can't lose by countout, you can't lose by DQ, and it made Damian Priest kind of stay within the realm of not letting that character get out of hand. And I think that was great storytelling. I think it was overlooked completely because it's Dolph Ziggler and people were just over him. But I mean, if you really like sit and think about it, that was great storytelling how they did that. And a little repetitive, but sometimes that's how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them do like another Fatal 4-Way ladder match or something at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental, you know, to try and make it a bit more. Or to tell you what, they've got the Saudi show coming up next month. Elimination Chamber for the US title or the Intercontinental or something along them lines, you know what I mean? Or, you know, with Shinsuke being out, if he's not going to get well again, or from what it seems like he's not going to in the near future, then take the belts off him and put a tournament again and have a good old tournament. There's loads of ways that you could be set in.
Elimination Chamber. Whoever comes out on top wins the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, and then that way, you know, as I say, I just feel like the big problem at the moment is mid-card. That's where the issue is on both shows. Both shows, not just one, both.
I think Raw is in a much better position than SmackDown.
Yes.
But I think the problem with Raw is that it's 3 hours and sometimes it's hard to get people invested in the show for that long at this point.
Do you know what pisses me off though, right, is people go on saying, yeah, but it's on for 3 hours, but if you look in them 3 hours, they hop to different things so much. It's like, you've got time here to tell a real big story. Like, the night Big E won the title on Raw, from the minute the show started, it was all this bits leading up to the match at the end and stuff like that, where now it's like, Bobby and I come out, see you later, and then, you know, we're on to the next thing. And
they definitely have a formula, but I also think that the hopping thing goes back to just how fans react to things. They have short attention spans. They can't stay invested in things for too long.
No, but what I'm saying, but if you have a segment at the beginning of the show, and then it sets up your main event for the night, you can still do all your hot shopping in the middle of it, but then every now and again it can be like a little backstage segment or commentators building up the main event.
I'll tell you why they probably don't do that as much. If you look back at the night Bobby Lashley won the title from The Miz, they made that story throughout the night.
Oh, it was brilliant.
It was brilliant. Okay, me and you agree that was brilliant. But if you look at what these other fans are saying, the younger fans, they think it's terrible. They're like, this is dumb, this is boring, they don't want to see it. So I hate to blame fans for things because obviously WWE isn't perfect. Nobody's perfect here. No. But I look at fans and how much they hate on things that I personally don't understand, and I feel like that has to play into how WWE does things. They're not going to listen to the fans 100%, but they're clearly going to see things and maybe kind of tweak some things to cater to it a little bit. Yeah. And they've done a few of those episodes where the story goes throughout the whole night, and those tend to be my favorite ones. I think they're great. But those usually get butchered by other people saying they just don't like it, and it's insane to me.
Yeah. Right then, Wrestle Buddies. Well, that was our podcast this week. Let us know in the comments section, you know, what you thought of this week's wrestling, and if there's anything you felt like we were missing. Corey's just put, I do love all sorts of wrestling. Corey, thanks for your comments and stuff, and thank you to everyone who's commented and joined in with the show. We love it when you interact with us. That's exactly what we want to do, and we want to speak more with you. Make sure you head over to WrestleBuddy.com to find out all your latest articles that guys write on there. Some really good ones with it being Royal Rumble season, and also all the news that's coming out of any rest of the ICW. IWC rather, and also check out the YouTube channel because we've got some great little lists on there and fun stuff that we're doing all the time. Join us again tomorrow. We will be back live on Facebook, Twitch and YouTube for Quiz Buddies, but until then, Wrestle Buddies, take care and we will see you next time. See you.
Later, man.